Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers, and today I'm going to be the guest and host because I had a few cancellations, had to reschedule, and then I got sick and it's bumped everything late. But I'm going to try to keep to one episode a week. So this one may be late, but it's for this week. Um, what I was going to talk about was creating your own heaven and the feedback loop. And then we'll conclude with a meditation on being open, opening yourself up. So, what I'm talking about when I'm saying creating your own heaven is when you die and go to the other side, you're able to effectively create a heaven for yourself. And this is consistent with what a lot of near-death experiencers have said, that when they were taken to a garden or they were taken to a place of paradise or heaven, it's often the case that you'll hear them say, I felt like this place was prepared just for me, that everything that I was seeing and experiencing, like maybe it was a beautiful garden, or maybe it was a beach scene or something like that, being in a forest, was created specifically for them. And this is actually quite common. And so, how is it created for them? Well, really, it's essentially you or your higher self that puts it together. And then it's just a matter of recognizing and being aware that it's been formed for you. And so, in a sense, when you think about it, the heavenly realms, how many heavenly realms are there? Well, there's millions or billions possibly. It's essentially an infinite number of realms that could be created. And you can start to put these together once you figure it out. And I think it's true in a sense that we create our own heaven when we're on the other side, but we can also co-create heavenly realms with others, because a lot of times you'll see near-death experiences and they'll be interacting with other people, assuming that these other people are actually genuine other people and not creations of that person, which I guess in theory can happen too, that you create an image of people and see that. But assuming that, at least in some cases, that there are other people, other souls and entities, angels and whatnot, that you can co-create a heavenly realm with other people, kind of like a collage. So you sort of have the individual aspects and realms. You can have the collective or collage realms created by multitudes of souls. And I sort of got into this a little bit in my book because I was saying, well, in a sense, heaven, when you think about it, in terms of your individual creation, sort of like the holodeck. You just say, computer, send me to such and such, only you don't have to say computer. You just focus your mind and attention on it, and you create that reality. And it's sort of like the the symbolism and the allegory take on a literal form. And there's also a connection between the good works that you do, and creating the heaven that you want, because it's kind of like some people would see like their mansion being created, kind of like what you see in the Bible. Jesus says, I go and prepare a place for you. And sometimes people go up there and say, well, there was a mansion being prepared for me, and I could see the paints and the wood and everything being put together. And it's like, well, the paints and the wood, they sort of represent the good works and good deeds that you do, that they create the heavenly mansion for you, if you you will. It's taking a literal form because you're seeing a literal mansion in front of you, but it's being created by our actions, by our love. It's being created through the process of love. And so that's kind of like what when the Bible talks about rewards in heaven, that we're taken up through the principle of grace and just by faith, by embracing God in Christ, but that through our love and our works, we can create rewards. We can create and expand the heavenly mansion. So there's that aspect to it too, is taking love and using it to further create in heaven. But then there's the collective realm where we create together. And I think like when you see New Jerusalem, and I talked about this in my book, that it had certain dimensions, like it was a cube and it was so high and so long and so wide that I said, this might have been a creation of the people who were there, the saints, the angels, whoever were collectively creating. And of course, God is possibly creating some of these realms too, and working with us and through us to help us to create the heavenly realms. So it's sort of a working of the individual, the working of us together collectively, and it's the power of God working to create as well. So it's kind of all three simultaneously happening.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs, a central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs. How the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times. Evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon.
So I think that's pretty cool. And I had speculated that maybe the New Jerusalem was that size when the Apostle John saw it, but maybe it's bigger and grander now than even that, because there's people constantly dying and creating and extending, expanding the realms that are there. And that the New Jerusalem itself may have just been sort of like the center or the capital of heaven, but not the totality of all that is what we call heaven. And that's a pretty cool thing to think about. And the idea of creating your own heaven was sort of figured out too by a woman named Danny who had a near-death experience, and she kind of got curious, and that's a good thing when you are on the other side. Get curious. Don't close yourself into a certain mode of thinking, but get curious, ask questions, ponder, see what you can do. And that's what she did, is like she knew that she was in the light at one point, and then sometimes her attention would focus somewhere else, like a forest or a beach or whatever, and she'd like instantly be there. She's like, I wonder if I'm really in control of this. So like she put her mind focus on a place, and it's like boom, she would be there. Focus on it, be in another place, she was there. So she started figuring out, I'm really the one that can create the realms for myself. And uh, so there is confirmation in the near death experience about creating the heavenly realms. So when you see things in the Bible, like I saw the streets of gold and I saw the pearly gates, there absolutely is near death experiencers that, like what you read in the Bible and the book of Revelations, that have seen those kind of things. They've seen streets of gold, they've seen pearly gates, they've seen the throne room of God, they've seen castles, but these may have been created over the century and millennia, the eons, by people in those heavenly places that we've at least may have co-created with God on some of these things, putting it together, you know. And of course, there's more than just um, castles and streets of gold and pearly gates. There's libraries, there's schools, there's forests, there's people have seen beaches. So it's like there's an infinite number of possibilities that we individually, collectively, and with God can create in the heavenly realms. And I know, like Mel and Thomas Benedict got what he called a tour of heaven. He was able to see different cities, continents, and even saw heaven as like a planet. So, in a sense, there may be heavenly realms that are a planet, if you will, maybe on a different dimension than our three-dimensional universe, but there's a planet that has the heavenly realms on it. And we don't even know that it's limited just to one planet, because there could literally be millions upon millions of planets. But he saw a planet, he saw continents, he saw countries, he saw cities. This is what he experienced and reported back. So there's like an infinite number of diversity within the realms of heaven, and we help to create them. And I thought that that was really awesome. Now, there's kind of something similar to we are sort of creating and co creating in the heavenly realms. Um, we experience to a certain degree what we want, what we expect to experience. And sometimes this is a criticism of people against the near death experiences. Oh, people just experience what they want or experience what they expect. And to some extent, it's true. It's not entirely the case, but there's some truth to it. And Mel and Thomas Benedict was the one who talked about the feedback loop. And essentially, the feedback loop is sometimes people will die and they have such a strong expectation of what they're going to experience that that's what they experience. So, like if you come from a super religious background with very definite dogmas and theological ideas and concepts, that may be exactly what you experience, you know. And over time, you may start to grow in the truth and sort of evolve and move to a realm where you see the truth a little more clearly. But that's something to keep in mind, is the feedback loop. And, you know, if you're there and you're starting to see things, that's the point where you need to ask questions. You need to be curious. You need to say, is this really the way it is? Or is there more to it? Is there, you know, because it's like there may be a truth in what you're seeing. You know, it's not that it's totally false necessarily, but you may not be seeing the bigger picture of how it all fits together, you know. And I kind of keep that in mind when I look at near death experiences, because you wouldn't want to just take one near death experience and just take it as gospel. You want to look at many near death experiences, the totality, and see what kind of truths you can see there and glean from it. And, you know, obviously, when someone comes back and their experience just lines a little too perfectly with a particular church or particular dogmas, I'm like, kind of wonder if they got caught up in the loop, the feedback loop, you know. But, you know, you don't want to discount them just because, you know, it's very religious and very specific, but they may have gotten caught up a bit in the loop, you know. But I think the thing is are there certain truths um, from religion that I think probably are there that are just true, and it's not just the feedback loop. I believe so, and what I've seen is like when people have asked, "Is Jesus the Son of God?" and this has been people from different religions and um, atheists and whatnot, and people that weren't super religious. They just sort of asked because they didn't know either way. They were open either way. It was fine. And it seems like definitively the answer came back: yes, Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus plays a unique role in the spiritual development of humanity. This just seems to be a clear message across the board for people that specifically ask that. I haven't seen a near death experience come back and say, no, Jesus is insignificant. Jesus is not the Son of God. I haven't seen any of those NDEs. Not saying they don't exist, but I haven't seen them. Please like, subscribe to this channel, and share everywhere. Thank you. And it seems pretty clear cut when the question comes up that there's a uniqueness to Jesus. And so that does give me hope that, yeah, I think Jesus is the real deal. Let's just put it that way. Jesus is the real deal. And then there's another one too, is people have asked, what about the Bible? And it seems to be a resounding yes that the Bible is divinely inspired. But as Howard Storm said, it has to be read spiritually and prayerfully. So not everybody that's reading the Bible is interpreting it as it truly is. And it doesn't necessarily mean, some of the more fundamentalist things. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's an absolute inerrancy in it per se. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't necessarily require a inerrancy or verbal plenary truth to it necessarily. But there is a level of inspiration that's absolutely there, no question. So that should kind of give you hope if you're a Christian looking at the near death experience, that the uniqueness of Christ and the uniqueness of the Bible seem to be overwhelmingly affirmed across the board when the subject comes up. That doesn't come up in every case. There's a lot of near death experiences where the person of Christ doesn't come up or the Bible doesn't come up at all, and they just have their experience. That's fine. So that's about all I wanted to say on that. Obviously, like I've said before too, and I'll sort of put this out there, that, as Howard Storm said, um, essentially the religion that helps you get closest to God is the correct one that you should be in, and that all religions do serve a purpose. All religions have a degree of truth, and all religions meet people where they are and can help people guide them into deeper truth. So I want to put that out there because I don't want you to think I'm just exclusively, you know, exclusively pushing Christianity per se, though I think the truth of Christianity seems to be supported in the near death experience. But yeah, all religions have a degree of truth and they're there to guide people. So that's something to keep in mind about the feedback loop, is that look at the near death experiences across the board, a wide range of them. Look at what's being said. And sometimes you may see the loop being caught in there, especially like if you have a near death experience that's sort of an outliner that doesn't really line up with the vast majority of other near death experiences. And the person may have been caught up in the loop. Doesn't mean their experience is fake or, they made it up necessarily. It's just they may be in the loop when they were there. And that's fine, because it's all part of the growth process. And God allows the feedback loop so it doesn't scare us, because it's like if you're expecting one thing and you're so dead set on this is the way it is. And then it's like, oh, it's not quite that way. It's like it could freak you out. I mean, sometimes even a minor difference between what's the ultimate truth and what you believe to be true could set a person off, you know. Like, I mean, like, what if you found out that Jesus' relation to the Father was slightly different than what you were expecting, you know? And it could throw you off, you know. So it's like God is delicate in that sense. And the feedback loop itself serves a purpose. You know, it's sort of so you don't get shocked when you first get up there, like, oh, everything I believed was wrong, you know. So now we'll get into the meditation. Relax, get comfortable. We're going to start with a few deep breaths, breathing in through our nose, holding for approximately 8 seconds, and then exhaling through our mouth. Let's take in one deep breath. Breathe in deeply. And exhale. Breathe in deeply. And exhale. Breathe in deeply. And exhale. On this next breath, we're going to breathe in peace and tranquility, exhaling any stress and anxiety. Breathe in peace and tranquility. Exhale stress. Just letting all that anxiety and stress go. Let's breathe in one more breath of peace and tranquility. Breathe in. And exhale stress. Just imagine yourself in a beautiful forest. You're walking around. What do you notice? You can see tall trees that go to the sky. See lots of green leaves. You can hear birds and the squirrels around. See rocks, grass, beautiful blue sky. Just take a moment to take it all in and see what you can see in the forest. And just keep walking in this forest. You found a smooth path through some tall redwoods. And you're just enjoying the beauty that's out here. And feel the breeze on your skin. It's not too warm, it's not too cold. It's just perfect. The forest is vast and diverse. There's many different types of life in a forest. Plants and animals, insects. Everything is free and wild. Forest is a place where you can let your curiosity roam. You're able to be open, free, uninhibited. in this forest. In this forest, you can let all your anxieties, limited beliefs, just let them go. The sky's the limit in the vast forest, a world of infinite possibilities. Now you hear in the distance some water. You start walking towards it. You found yourself in front of a beautiful flowing river. Allow the river to just envelop you. Step in. They say you never step into the same river twice because the water is constantly flowing. You have a new river each time, different water than the water you stepped in prior. Think of this river like the flow of ideas and concepts. You need not be locked into a particular way of thinking. You can let it flow. Be open and free like the river to just take things. Carve your own path, much like the river does. River can carve away large rocks, can carve through a forest, can change the dynamics of a forest. Water is powerful, yet gentle, and it flows easy. This can be you. Be like the water, gentle, yet powerful, gradually flowing and changing the landscape as you flow through. Allow your ideas to evolve and change. Don't be afraid of new ideas. Don't be afraid to let go of old ideas. You live in a universe full of infinite possibilities. But always know this: in a universe and a world full of constant change, there are constant forces in the universe, one of which is love. Another one is energy never dies. Unit will never die. You will live on forever in the vastness of infinite dimensions. Let us take a moment to take in the river. Now, before we close, we'll take in one deep breath. Breathe in deeply. And exhale. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.